authority. We're scared of authority.
We're very scared of authority. I remember me and my buddies.
Even when Liz dresses up as like a cop, a woman cop, I get really nervous.
Yeah, too.
Every Thursday for some, she comes in in a woman's cop outfit, and my heart starts pounding. I get so nervous.
Oh, that you have the right to remain.
Yeah.
You're just like,
I always just run away.
What did I do? Hey, I'm Alex. Here's Zach.
Hey, what's up?
This week, we get in the mind of a 12-year-old, my son, and find out why he's so self-righteous and against the feminist movement. Bigfoot is also back, and we get to tell you what shows to watch. Stay tuned.
It should be a good one. What did your wife write on our Instagram?
So let me just read this.
I don't know if I like her tone.
No. Hold on, sorry. So she said, after we posted last week, we've had a lot of people really interested in some of our content on Full House. But she said, riveting content. I'm at the edge of my seat to hear more. The Danny Tanner daddy fantasy could go on a few episodes.
What does she mean by that? Does she have a thing for Danny?
I wish we could role play.
I think every girl has a thing for Danny because he's so clean.
He is.
Every episode he's out there with his dustbuster, which if you're young, you might not know what a dustbuster is, but that was a big thing when we were kids.
Yeah. And I think it really, a few years, even though Kelsey's just a few years younger than me, it really shows in her emotional maturity to make a comment like this.
What a joke.
Because Danny was just leaps and bounds. He was ahead of his times in terms of his emotional depth,
She's mocking him?
Yeah. I don't know.
He lost his wife at a young age, and he had to raise 3 daughters?
3 baby girls alone. Alone.
Joey and...
Rest in peace, Pam.
Yeah,
Pam Tanner.
Rest in peace, Pam.
She was beautiful. Did you see some of those flashbacks when they had the camera out?
I don't remember any flashbacks of Pam.
Yeah. Oh, you got to go back and watch them. But yeah, she was like as beautiful inside and out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the daughters were beautiful, and Danny, he did his best with Joey and then Jesse. Well, Jesse's a good-looking guy. If that was his sister, then for sure she was a looker.
Yeah, and I think he tried with Denise, and I think they do end up getting married. But Denise was a career. She was into her career, right? She's a co-anchor. She can't she can't just drop everything and start raising these children who have multiple dad figures, some multiple mom figures.
This is very inside baseball. Denise, that was like season 7. That was late in the season.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to give her... None of the love interest quite worked out like Denise, but...
Yeah, Denise would come and go.
Can you imagine the courtship between... so Danny shows up to take out Pam, and Jesse's in there playing the guitar.
Yeah.
And just glaring at him and takes off on his motorcycle all pissed off that she's hanging out with this dork.
I kind of feel kindred spirits with Danny, because when I met Kelsey's brother, who was in like a similar situation, right? Like he's like I don't know if he was jamming on the guitar, but he was definitely doing something cool, right? And I said to him, like, oh, it's a pleasure to meet your acquaintance.
You said
those exact words.
That's exactly what I probably told you to say. It usually is a hit.
Right. And it wasn't a hit. Like, to this day, they still will, like, get in that mocking voice.
Did you say it with an accent? Like, pleasure to meet your acquaintance?
No, I just, I was fumbling because he's a big dude, right? Like, he's like 6'6" and just a little intimidating. So I was just like, hey, I just reverted back to my etiquette. Etiquette's going to win the day here. And it didn't. No, they still ridicule me for that. And we've talked about
deserved.
The emotional stunted person that is my wife.
I did the opposite with Liz's family. I just kicked down the door, came in.
So you're like Jesse at Becky.
Mm-hmm.
You just took what you wanted.
Yeah.
Where me, I had to ask permission. I didn't just really.
Well, Liz only had little brothers at that time. Her other brother was gone, so it wasn't a big deal.
They kicked that door down by.
I was instantly the alpha of that family.
How's it been since then, though? Do you feel like you're still the alpha of that family?
Yeah, for sure. I'm the alpha. You've met my brother-in-laws.
Yeah,
they might be 6'4", but they're weak.
Yeah,
no, they definitely could beat me up.
Right, but you've kept that like
big brother thing kind of going, where I'm like, I have that over them.
And you told me from a young age, you're like, hey, it's better to be feared than to be loved. And I've always quoted you when I said that. Yes. And so that's probably the same.
I regret a lot of the ways I raised you. I would do things a lot differently now.
Okay, so go back in time. You've got a fresh baby bro, Alex. Okay, he's into a little nerdy stuff, but he'll still go along with a lot of the things you're into. What do you change? What do you do different?
That's a good question. I would probably just be more of a hype guy for you. Just be like, dude, you see my brother's sword and his lizard? Look how dope this kid's lizard is.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
You started getting that way with like, you know, I think I had like we call it mastering a game. I think I had mastered a game that everyone thought was impossible, you know, and sometimes you'd hype me up in those situations.
Yeah. No, I was proud of you, even if I didn't say it.
Yeah.
I was jealous of your relationships with
animals.
If only we would have had animals like you did.
Yeah. If only you would have had like another chance, another little brother along the way, but
I don't think it never happened.
Never happened.
So
yeah, it's too bad.
How you feeling? Springtime, sun's out.
Yeah, crazy.
Fresh cut grass.
I just got back from skiing.
That's so weird.
I know, it was
crazy.
weird, but
Utah's crazy.
I know, it was awesome though. Like spring skiing is like the snow's very soft, so it's almost like you're on water.
Yeah.
So like it doesn't feel like you can get hurt or anything like that. But it's boring too. It's slow and boring. But.
And your kids are all back in sports, soccer and baseball and all that.
Yeah.
How are you as a dad watching your kids play sports?
On the
What's
minimum.
your approach?
Yeah, I'm like the minimum. So it's like,
is it the minimum because you don't want to like stand out and be like, I'm not going to try too hard and be like, I don't want to expose, like if I go out and start yelling at my son and then he's bad, like I'm going to like have that reputation that I'm like loud at the games.
So you know when you're like cooking like a brisket or a dinner and you can already tell halfway through that it's not going to turn out.
So do you finish cooking the brisket?
For sure. Or do you just move on?
You finish cooking the brisket and then you just hype it up like, yeah, this is one of the best ones I've had, and people just eat it, and even though in their heads they're like thinking this is not a very good brisket.
Yeah. I mean, if you had a brisket, have you had a brisket that wasn't like cooked right?
Yes.
And it's like rubber and inedible, right? Like it's inedible, right? Like you can get a brisket that's overdone, but if you get one that just doesn't,
how are we gonna reel this back?
Anyways,
to your kids.
No, I don't put a ton of pressure on my kids with sports because they don't naturally like yearn to get better at them.
Yeah.
And so
it's hard to force it for sure.
Yeah, and it does seem like there's a lot of parents that are really into sports for their kids, and that makes me excited for, like, I feel like there's plenty of those parents. There's not a ton of me's that are like realistically looking at these kids like, hey, this probably isn't gonna work out. Maybe let's do robotics.
Yeah, I'm open to it all working out. I'm just not going to put eggs in that basket. And just if that comes, great. But I don't know. I don't want to sit there and people are over the top. I'm going to these soccer games and baseball games, and parents are over the top.
But you are a person who, you were really athletic growing up. Like, do you feel like if mom and dad would have been more involved, then it would have gone better?
They were really involved, and I also just did it myself. And my kids, there's more to do now. So my kids could be okay, but I'm also not going to push them. I don't want to be the guy that's like, you have to go do this. That's just not my style.
Yeah, and
but in a perfect world, it'd be fun to watch them like be competitive in sports. I'm not going to deny that would be really fun. But I'm definitely not going to be the guy that's like out there pushing it to happen. I want them to take the ball and run with it.
So you don't like resent dad for like not calling up Coach Welk and being like, my son is twice the dribblers.
No, that would
Danny
been bad.
Silverhays. Okay.
No, that was not my time to shine. I was too.
You peaked. When
ADD.
do you think you peaked though athletically? Because
30.
Yeah, that was a good year for you.
30. It all seemed to click when everyone stopped playing.
That's what I noticed too.
I was like, hey, everyone stopped. I might as well play now, and then I'll look like I'm good.
Yeah,
that was my approach.
Yeah, you'd invite me to come play sometimes, and I'm like, man, I'm way better at this than I remember. And it was just because people had gotten so.
No, outside of like the realm of other like random people that don't know you judging you, like coaches and stuff like that, you can, if you're comfortable, it's an even playing field, and you usually do pretty well.
Yeah, that's cool.
What about, you were telling me about something with Mac and.
Yeah, Mac was like, I went skiing with him. I took him, my 12-year-old, I take him out skiing today because he's like putting dad guilt on me. And he's just talking to me, and he tells me this really proud story. He's like, hey, you'd be way proud. Some buddies and I got together because some girls were wearing tank tops to school. And we went and told the principal because it's inappropriate.
Are our kids the opposite of what we were?
I think so.
We would have put those girls on our shoulders and carried them out the hallway.
Exactly.
Hip, hip, hooray.
But he tells you the story like, he's like, so the principal made him go change.
Good for him.
I know.
Whistleblower, dude.
I know, whistleblower.
As long as they take pride in whatever they're doing, then you can't like be like, dude, chill out.
No, for sure. I took a stance in this because I'm like, hey, this will be my effort towards the feminist movement.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, in the future, like, it doesn't go well for your kind. History doesn't remember your kind super well.
Yeah.
These darks, these like.
Can you imagine Mac back in the Salem witch trials? He would have put
so many,
accusing everybody of witchcraft back then, and just being so pumped at the
right. He's doing the Lord's work. I mean, because you're supposed to burn them at the stake.
Yeah.
You can't suffer that they live it.
My friends, they're like the mean buttercream gang.
Yeah, like the self-righteous buttercream gang.
Yeah, that's one thing. He'll look back, and those girls will become normal, and they'll be like, "You little." I remember what you did.
I know.
Yeah, I was young.
It's hard to walk that.
I was a young, ambitious, self-righteous type kid.
It's hard to walk that back. You can't. So he's going to have to wear that, right? Like he's going to have to really get in with those super righteous girls, right? That dig that type of stuff because he's painting himself into a corner.
It's so funny being young. They're trying to figure out like which sides and like where to take stances and who they are.
He's telling me but
you don't want to be the rat is a tough thing. When I was a kid, we had 2 lunches, and if you skipped a class, you could do both lunches. So as a 7th grader, I'm like, I'm gonna do that with my buddy Tyler. But you had nowhere to go. You couldn't. We didn't have cars or anything, so you hid in the bathroom. And when people came in the bathroom, you would act like you're going pee. You'd just be peeing for like an extra 30 minutes until it connected with the second lunch. And so they just find out that you've been to the first period and then like the 4th period, and they're like, where did you go? And they called me in, and I was so nervous, and I was like, yeah, Tyler Mooney, he made me do it. Yeah, he did it. And they got called in, and I pretty much just had to own it. Be like, hey guys, I ratted you out. That was on me, and I got a lot of crap for a long time.
Yeah, that's a help trait though, because
authority. We're scared of authority.
We're very scared of authority. Mm-hmm. I remember me and my buddies.
Even when Liz dresses up as like a woman cop, I get really nervous.
Yeah, too.
Every Thursday, for some reason, she comes in in a woman's cop outfit, and my heart starts pounding. I get so nervous.
Oh, that you have the right to remain. Yeah. You're just like,
I always just run away.
What did I do? You go find that bathroom.
It's never quite worked out.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, we got that narc gene in us, and that's fine. It works out. Usually it works out for the narc in the end.
Sometimes. Another time, my buddy Marcus, you might have heard this story. We were in high school, and it was like 1 a.m. We go to my buddy's cabin, and everyone there is drinking. Everyone there is drunk. And we're hanging out for a while, and I wasn't drinking. I'm not going to do my Mac pat on the back.
Yeah, there you go.
So me and Marcus leave, and a cop pulls us over, and he gets really nervous, just like you do, and he runs over the curb. So the cop's like, hey, I need to like check your vehicle. You've been drinking, blah, blah. And so he searches the whole vehicle, and we don't have anything. And he's like, hey, where have you guys been? And we're in the middle of the woods. There's like 5 cabins up there. He's like, oh, we're at the Young's cabin. And he instantly was like, oh, okay. And then we go home, and we wake up the next morning, and Marcus has like 20 voicemails on his phone of friends just ripping him. It turns out the cop goes to the cabin and busts all these kids for underage drinking. And one of the buddies is like, hey, how did you know we were here? And he's like, oh, I pulled over your friend Marcus. And he never lived that down. That was like, he was attached to that.
He had to leave the state.
He did. He currently lives out of the state. And I know Marcus listens.
Yeah.
Hey, you're forgiven.
Yeah. It's not your fault. It's not your fault.
You got to relax. Those cops pull you over, though. You don't run over the curb.
Where did we get our sense? Because have you been in the car when Dad has been pulled over before?
He gets very mad at the people. He's like, it's like anti-authority.
Yeah, he gets very anti-authority, right? He is like questioning the cops. By the time my dad leaves with a ticket, because he always gets a ticket.
Yeah.
He has made sure that cop knows exactly how bad of a human being he is.
Yeah.
Right?
When we were kids, I I had jumped my parents' car and totaled it. And the cops showed up and they gave me a reckless driving ticket.
Yeah, probably well deserved.
Sure. Yeah. And Dad was upset about that. He was upset about the car, obviously, but also upset at the cop for giving me this ticket. And like going at the cop. He was very upset. Like 6 months later, I'm doing like 70 in a like 35. And I get pulled over and the cop comes up and he's like, I would give you a ticket, but I'm scared of your dad.
That's true story. Yeah. I never heard that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I was like, sweet. So I got off because of Rob's fury.
Yeah. I mean, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, but the non-managed anger wheel also gets greased every once in a while, you know.
All right, let's get to this week's top headies. I got one for you right now. This Belgian man, he's cleared of drunk driving charges after he proves that his body manufactures his own alcohol.
That's like next level reverse psychology.
Yeah, and I don't know how the science, like, apparently, so it's a gut fermentation syndrome, they call it. And this disorder causes the stomach's natural yeast to produce ethanol. Yes, in the booze ingredient / alternate fuel, though in the latter form, it's generally also mixed with gasoline. So he gets pulled over he gets a couple drunk driving tickets and he can't prove this. He's like, I haven't been drinking, but he blows in like high, like a DUI. So he gets DUIs from this and he finally is able to prove that his body produces this. But the fact that he's a Belgium, it kind of like discredits it a little bit because their alcohol is it's like 13% in some of their beers.
Yeah, it's strong.
Super strong.
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know, some genetics over there. They're slowly like giving birth to these children that have this disorder. But it's only like 100 people in the whole world have this.
Really? Yeah. That's like a cool like card to play though, because
I'm not drunk.
Yeah, you can pull that off.
But how? What are you going to show them that's going to prove? Like when the cop pulls you over,
you got your beaker. You get your beakers out, right? And you're just like showing them. Here's your like you're creating ethanol. It'd be fun, you know. Everyone loves the science experiment. Like Bill Nye was huge, huge. You know, and you go Bill Nye in front of a jury. No one's convicting you.
It's not the jury. I think once you get to the jury, it's fine. But like just the initial hassle of a cop pulling you over and arresting you, and you're like, hey, I've done this before. It's going to show that I'm drunk. I'm not drunk. I'm a freak.
Yeah.
But the whole like I never saw that. There was never like an option like in a Marvel movie. There's no Marvel, you know, character like that you just
yeah that is a superpower.
Get away with DUIs. It's a superpower.
It is. I know we have a lot of boring characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kelsey, she like has like a little freak thing when she like it's called like white coat syndrome.
This is Kelsey, your first wife.
The first wife.
Yeah.
Current wife.
Second
right?
Kelsey.
Second Kelsey. But if she's going to a doctor, her blood pressure like just shoots up. And so
because she's nervous?
Yeah, she's like nervous to see anytime she's like going to see the doctor. Like she goes in there and we dealt with this a bunch in pregnancy, but she would have to tell them beforehand, like, hey, you're going to read a really off the wall blood pressure. Don't freak out. Yeah. This is just how it is when I come in here. So she'll then have to like send them text messages later at her house with like a normal blood pressure reading saying like, hey, no, this is an actual thing. Because sometimes the nurses, our doctor finally figured it out and was like, okay, this is fine. We'll just ignore this. But nurses would be like, no, we got to get you to the ER. You're about to have a stroke. And,
oh my gosh.
I feel like bringing up Kelsey twice in this podcast is 2 times
you're
too
really
much.
into her, like girl.
I know. Oh man,
you shouldn't have used that line I gave you. It like the hook sinks in too deep when you say, "Pleasure to meet your acquaintance." It gets them every time, and you can't. They never get off the hook.
That was the piece of advice you gave me when I said, "What does it feel like to love?" Mm-hmm. You said, "This is what you say."
Oh man, what do you got for headlines this week?
So I got a good one, and we've referenced this in the past. So I mean, we're gonna probably just really beat dead horses on this podcast. We might need to change it to
we're only
the dead horse beating
sixth episode or something. We're already repeating ourselves.
To beat dead horses. But,
yes.
So a guy's fishing with his fishing buddy in Oklahoma, and the dude is out there on the lake, and they get in an argument, and this guy ends up having to strangle his fishing buddy to death. Right? Puts him in a chokehold, strangles him to death.
Is this Lord of the Rings?
No, that's what I was like feeling. Right? They're fishing together. But I mean, kind of goes down that route. Yeah. Apparently, his buddy, to his defense, claims that his buddy had lured him out there and was trying to feed him to Bigfoot himself. And so the guy, to defend himself before he could be lured into this trap that he had inevitably set, had to choke his buddy out before his buddy could do Bigfoot's bidding. And
was there a twist where he fed the other guy to Bigfoot?
No, I don't think Bigfoot's kind of picky on like what he eats, right? Because he can. You've been around for as long as he has. He can pick whatever.
Who are these people? I mean,
Oklahoma though, dude. So that's like a.
Is there a lot of sightings of Bigfoot in Oklahoma?
I think Bigfoot.
Do you think he had like a dream that was like, you must feed Bigfoot your best friend?
Well, I think,
you could go buy some meat.
The defense,
you don't have to kill somebody to feed Bigfoot.
Yeah, this was the defense. And sometimes, I only believe 1 out of every 3 Bigfoot sightings. I think it's a good number. Yeah, 33%. It's like, okay, you dismiss the other 2, and then you're going to be able to connect a lot of dots. But if you go everywhere, you're never going to be able to connect any dots with Bigfoot. But yeah, I don't think, and also in that Panhandle area where he's from, I don't think Bigfoot's out there. I think he's dealing with just some like standard Squatches, right? Like they're not as sophisticated because Bigfoot's single, right? And this is a character. He's been around for a long time. But Sasquatches, those are confirmed. We know Sasquatches exist. Right?
I thought they were the same thing.
No, they interact, right? And Bigfoot once. Which one? A lot of people think he was a leader.
Which one is sexually active from mates?
Yeah, no, not Bigfoot.
Just squatching.
Yeah, he looks down upon other creatures. Or inferior.
I'd like to meet him.
Yeah, I'll arrange it. But you got to come fishing with me.
Yeah. Yeah, fishing sounds nice. Yeah, I need some more backstory on that, or somehow we can get like Guy on this podcast.
Well, we got to see if the jury is okay with it, right? Yeah. If he could do a science experiment about Bigfoot, right?
That's a great excuse, though. Mm-hmm. Is that the first thing he came up with? It was like, "Hey, I killed my friend. What is the jury going to believe?" Like
self-defense is legal, right?
And
there's not a lot of precedence when it comes to Bigfoot law.
Yeah, when you go very specific on lies, people like believe it more. Maybe that's that's a great alibi there.
But what if he was right? Right? Like what if this is the 1 in 3 that we got to believe, right? And he had to how bad that's like, because we laugh at this. This jury's for sure going to convict him, right? No one's going to believe that, and he's going to go to jail for telling the truth.
If I'm on the jury, I don't know. I could be swayed.
Okay. Well, hopefully.
Sounds pretty convinced.
Hopefully. So like you's all there.
Hey, let's get to this week's Costco correspondent.
All right, Z. We are here at, I believe, at Colette Costco. We have a real treat in store for you today as we try to do this through the blizzardy conditions of March. We have the Kirkland Animal Crackers. Fun fact about these animal crackers is they are not all shaped like animals. They're actually shaped like famous landmarks. I promise you, your kids are going to get fun information as you watch these. Okay, let's crack this open. A few things that I want you to think about as you eat an animal cracker is A, obviously texture, B, taste, but also the shapes. We're going to eat a gorilla today. I was really hoping for more of a buttery, flaky taste, but in conjunction with the price, I was going to say this has got to have Adam, and that's my review.
That's what an interesting choice. Those kind of phased out in the late 80s, early 90s.
Have you had those animal crackers? They're too, like he said, they're kind of bland, I think. You kind of feel like you're chewing on air.
Doesn't it surprise you post Harambe that they're still selling animal crackers, right? Still showing these animals.
Give me a backstory on that. I don't understand the reference.
Harambe was
Use that in a sentence, please.
Harambe was the ape that a child fell into his cage, and they had to shoot him because they were too nervous that he was going to kill the child.
He was like protecting the child too, right?
Yeah, I think he was playing around with it. No, there's been ones when like they've like protected this isn't like the first kid that's fallen into a cage. This one, I think they were pretty nervous about, so they had to shoot him.
Are they putting glass up now? Have they learned their lesson? Put glass in front of these things?
Yeah, I don't know if zoos are like the whole zoo life just bewilders me.
I always feel like there's hundreds of videos of those silverbacks, like people getting stuck in those silverback little environments they create at the zoos.
Yeah, Harambe was like probably 2015, 2016, but people actually point to that as like the decline in Western civilization.
Yeah.
Like the peak was pre-Harambe, and then decline was
That was the
post-Harambe.
downfall. So in the histories, will be remembered like that was a turning point.
That's when we kind of turned on each other, right? People, you were either pro-Harambe or you were pro-life.
So if you're comparing like the Roman Empire, like say their fall was like spreading too thin and moving their capital to Constantinople, and like it all just kind of fell apart there.
Yeah,
you're saying our civilization is when this gorilla,
when the girl was shot.
Mm-hmm. I believe it.
Yeah, I think you'll see. I mean, I think the studies back that up. But.
I like this. Oh yeah, look at today in history.
So looking up this day in history, very monumental day.
I like this segment.
Mm-hmm. So I think one of the biggest things that's going to happen and that affects us is the end of World War II, and this is the day that he's there in his Hitler hole just doing his thing with Ava, and this is when he finally admits defeat and says Germany is toast.
So this time in history, this is when it was over for Hitler.
And that's when he called it. He had like Ava there, and
how old was Ava? Ava at that time? She was young, right?
She was young, but not like super young. I think he was probably 50 something, and she was.
I thought she was like 18 or something crazy.
Oh man, I have no idea. I haven't done a lot of Ava research. She just kind of seemed like she was along for the ride.
She was. I don't think long for a ride for sure. Yeah.
Let's see. Watch any of her speeches.
Ava, I was hoping things were gonna work out a little bit better, but it's time to go.
And he was always he was always methed out. That's what they always said. Like he was like.
Yeah, have you seen him like when he's watching when Berlin had the Olympics, and he's watching
just shaking.
Olympics, like shaking, and he was all those German soldiers were methed out.
Yeah,
that's how the Blitzkrieg, they would just go crazy. They were just taking meth,
and maybe that was the problem.
And they took that because it helped them get over fear.
Yeah,
so they would just go for it.
Okay, so this is a good one. So 1980, the Boston Marathon is the prestigious race, right? We got those runners. We're out showing all those Soviet runners, right? We just got really good runners. And this lady, Rosie Ruiz, like really impressed her boss by qualifying for the Boston Marathon, right? Mm-hmm. She runs in like the New York Marathon or whatever. And her boss was like, "Oh, if you qualified, you have to do Boston." So I don't know if she she may have cheated in New York, right? We'll never know, right? But she ends up in the Boston Marathon and goes where she thinks is jumping in with the majority of like the runners.
Like decent times.
Yeah, like a decent time. But in reality, she's like a mile ahead of the leader of the women's pack. And so she ends up finishing the race, and they're freaking
I've seen this
crowning her, like she's shaking her heads or whatever, in first place. And it's like the biggest news because it's one of the fastest marathons ever run. So it's a huge miscalculation on her end.
She just wanted a good time. All of a sudden, she's on every TV, magazine, everything.
Yeah, she was everywhere. Anyways, the truth ends up coming out, and it was pretty devastating, right? For like that big of a lie.
I need to look more into it and see how they found out. I mean, it should be pretty. This is 1980. How does someone sneak through the crowd and hop in first place ahead of everyone? All of a sudden, like, hey, there's the leader.
It's like the oldest trick of the book.
Yeah, really. And this is 1980.
Sneak out, but. Boston's there's
a lot of coke going on. There's a lot of coke in the 80s. So who knows what was freaking happening.
Yeah. Anyways, a year later, she gets busted for, I think, selling drugs. So by cops in a sting operation.
Oh,
so
man.
She
Fall
really
from grace. She went from the
downhill.
Boston Marathon winner to in prison.
Yeah. So
bummer, dude. That is wild, though.
Yeah.
That she could pull that off. I'm just impressed by it.
I know it feels like a situation that I could land myself in someday, right? Like, hey, let's just finish this. So
I don't want to embarrass myself.
attention,
I'll just kind of sneak in here,
but also be. Oh my gosh, Kelsey, how did you answer? What's going on? Sometimes that faucet screws up. Try your hardest to push in as you're turning. See if you can fix it. But if not, I'll be home soon. Bye. God, I don't know how that answered. I kept trying to silence her.
Yeah. It was Kelsey all over again.
Third time.
Third time? She can't turn off water? You just turn the faucet, Kelsey. Oh,
Kels, if you're out there,
if you're out there.
listening.
She's not going to be out there much longer, though.
No, she's
I
not.
have a feeling things are coming to an end. And I have some more introductions for you. I want to use that line. I want to use that line you had on a couple more chicks.
I'll dig into my etiquette.
Well, back to the Boston Marathon. Good for her.
Yeah. I think she broke a lot of barriers that year because a lot of cheaters out there hadn't been really well represented over the years. Like remember you grew up like cheaters never prosper. And it's like when you
they do for a while.
Yeah. She broke that barrier, right? Like she tore those chains down, which, not a lot of people out there working for the cheaters and representing them like Rosie Ruiz. So we tip our hat to her.
We tip our hat to Rosie. And she also, you were saying she died.
Oh yeah.
R.I.P.
We tip our hat to her grave.
To her grave.
Okay, so let's get to what shows we're watching weekly. You got one?
I have one. You go first.
Okay, so this isn't like a real thing, but this is just a take I wanted to go through real quick because we grew up with a lot of kid shows. We've referenced Full House, but even like cartoons, I feel like we had some very rich cartoons. We had X-Men, we had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like these legendary cartoons. And our kids kind of grow up, and the American cartoons now are freaking lame, right? Like Paw Patrol is like one of the lamest things that you'll ever watch.
But that's for really young kids.
Yeah, but like we were that young, we were watching Morph get killed by a Sentinel and X-Men, right? Like we were dealing with heavy stuff. But like our kids, Paw Patrol's way lame. But the foreign influence is pretty awesome. Because you have Bluey. Have you sat through and watched Bluey?
Yeah, Bluey's great.
Bluey like makes every father out there feel inadequate, right? Because this guy he's an amazing dad out there.
He's a
I
good
get
dad.
choked up just talking about it.
Yeah.
How much he gives to those two pups.
He doesn't have 4 though. When you have 4, it's a different. You can only give so much.
Yeah. The
They turned it a drink.
Yeah. But even Peppa Pig, if you like listen to Peppa Pig, you're like, there's some pretty clever, decent stuff. So I won't let my kids watch any American made cartoons now. I'm done with that.
You won't let them?
No.
I can't imagine you coming down and be like, what are you guys watching? And there's no accent. And you're just like, turn it off. I don't hear a British accent.
Yeah.
There's no Australian accent in this.
I shut it off right then. But a show I'm really watching right now is like a video game remake, which is really cool, called Fallout. So it's like a post-apocalyptic world, post-World War II, but like the Russians and the Americans actually like nuke each other and blow up the world.
Is this a movie?
This is a TV series right now called Fallout that takes place 200 years after this supposed nuclear war. But it was a video game. And when you make these video games, which is becoming more and more common as my people get represented out there, when you turn these games into actual screenplays, a lot of times you don't have to do a ton of work because most of the games are already like kind of screenplay format. Like they're long and drawn out. So you have like full series, but a lot of them still take it upon themselves to like change. So like the Halo series came out and it's really kind of dumb because they just want to change everything. It's like, just mimic exactly how the game was. Yeah. And people will love it, right? Like it was a popular game because it had a great story.
And Fallout's doing that.
So it's good. Yeah. Okay, so what are you watching?
I was telling you last week, I was watching that show. I was actually calling it wrong. It's called Unlocked. It's a jail experiment. I was calling it Lockdown.
Yeah. I like Lockdown
Luckily, we have a ton of listeners that are going to fact check me on this. But I finished the show. It's like 7-part series,
Does he make bail?
I don't want to give too much away. It's not over one story. This is where they open the doors to all these inmates and just see how they respond. And they start like making hooch and they're like, making wicks and lighting stuff on fire. And so like, then they lock it back up for another day and they like come together and have to like, hey, we want these doors open. So we have to figure out how we're going to prove to this warden that we can like prosper as a society.
Who's like the ringleader in this? Like who's like bringing them together and be like, hey, we got to set
older.
aside
It's always the older.
differences.
It's always the older generation, but the younger generation is pretty good. Like they don't want to listen to the older guys, and the older guys aren't perfect either. So like, but the older guys are like, hey, listen to us, and so they have to find a balance.
Yeah,
and they eventually do. The hard part is like, it's kind of a transitionary prison, so like new people will come in and they don't really understand. Like once they have it good, all of a sudden new people come in and they screw it up. So yeah, it's just wild. So you'll have to just watch it and see like what direction they go, because it's a test and he wants to try it out and see if it works. And if it works, they do it in like another ward and all these different things. But man, it is quite the experiment. I can't believe they got it approved.
Yeah,
to do, because people get beat up. Oh yeah, people. It's in Arkansas. People get beat up, and like the cameramen do not step in. They don't want to, obviously, but like they're like on the front lines.
Yeah,
and it's just funny because they'll like beat people up, but they go in certain rooms where they know cameras aren't. So
yeah,
it's really good though.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I hope they can fix the American prison system.
So I just finished that, and then also I'm delving into Conan Must Go on HBO.
Okay,
and Conan O'Brien is the fun. Like he's good on talk shows, but he is the GOAT when it comes to just improvising with strangers as he goes. He's so good. Like those travel shows with him, like where he goes to different countries, are the best. So they did a couple while he was hosting late night.
Yeah, I remember those.
They did a couple on Netflix, and now he has his own series on HBO. And he goes to, I think he goes to Norway, Ireland, and a few other places. But he just kills it on it.
Yeah,
he's so funny.
Yeah,
and it's just a good way to like kind of travel with him.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's a good one. You should check it out. You have a lot of friends. I mean, we both have done well in the friend department. I feel
struck
like
gold.
Yeah. Have you? Is there anybody? If there was like a celebrity that you could be friends with, who would you choose and why?
I think. So I watch certain movies because I know they're going to elicit a reaction from my wife, right? Like with better looking dudes in there. So I know like I'm going to like
sets the mood.
Yeah, I'm going to reap like waterfall benefits from this guy's looks and his swagger and everything like that. So like if I had that guy around all the time, as long as I signed some sort of deal like, hey, maybe once, but beyond that,
come in the house, eat dinner with us, and then you kind of like sleek out into the night, and then it's me and Kay's time.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I'd probably take like a Gosling type character, or like a Reynolds, or like a even I dig deep and go like any Brad Pitt, pre Harambe. Brad Pitt puts some really good stuff.
Is this like a BC AD type thing? Is it
for sure
for Harambe?
Mm-hmm.
No one knows what the incident is.
I think everybody knows. I think he's looking at us. He's looking down on us right now as we speak.
Yeah. I'd have to think of who I would want to be friends with. Who's going to get me in the most like auspicious, situations.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be like a sports athlete, or you could go like movie celebrity. But how cool? Okay, and the movies are cool because someone else writes their lines. Have you hung out with like theater kids?
No, yeah, you're right. They
so is Brad Pitt a theater kid? I don't know.
Yeah. No, if he's.
I think Brad Pitt.
He's got me fooled.
I don't know if he went to did a lot of theater growing up. I don't think he's a thespian, so I don't think he's gonna be. I think he'd be pretty cool to hang out with.
Yeah, yeah, like the Matthew McConaughey's that type too, where it's like
McConaughey would be.
They
awesome.
leapfrog like but the Jake Gyllenhaals, like those are the ones like get me out.
I'm not hanging out with Jake Gyllenhaal
for sure.
Have you seen him interviewed?
Or
he's a great actor, but
who's the Dark Knight again? That guy who's yelled at his key grip.
Oh yeah, It's
the fact that we forgot his name. I feel really good about that.
Well,
he's such a big actor, but he's such a d-bag that you're like. But
yeah, we'll come back to his name because we're both idiots at this point. I always need you as like, hey, you can remember these names, and like I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
but
I remember him from Newsies. Does that help?
Oh man, what is his freaking name? Christian Bale.
That was good, dude. ABC. That's how you figure out names.
I always figure out names that way.
That was one of the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
Oh man, so
I would have had to like start naming things that rhyme with his name, like fail, jail, Bale, Christian Bale. Yeah.
Bale would not be cool to hang out with.
No, he would not. No, I'd be nervous around him. You never know when he's going to turn. He's too method.
I think comedians would be like a good comedian would be fun to hang out with.
Yeah,
I'd hang out with Shane Gillis. He's my top guy right now.
Yeah, he'd be
everything
cool.
he does. I think it's funny.
But do you feel like when you're around those guys because they know you're a fan, or Because that'd be the hard thing.
I handle celebrity decently. I'm not gonna be like a fan guy. I'm gonna be like try to fit in, make them feel comfortable.
That was a soft little flex on like, yeah, I'm around.
I'm not around
every once.
I'm not very often. We've talked about this on the pod in the past, and I'm not. I just try to play it cool, which ends up limiting me too. I'm not like gonna be Mr. Personality either.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna cause any waves or cause a scene with them or make them feel uncomfortable.
No, I would make them feel comfortable because if they told a joke, I'd be trying to tell one funny.
Well, you saw, you are uncomfortable because you saw D'Angelo Russell in Paris.
That story. I didn't think he'd turn out the way he turned out.
Yeah, he's having a great series right now.
Great series. But we're on the Eiffel Tower. It's me and Kelson. There's a bunch of French people there, and we're about to get on this elevator, and there's a black dude there who's tall. And I'm like, okay, that's a freaking basketball player. He's with this super hot model. They have a photographer with them, like just following him around. But he's got to hang out with us because there's only one. There's not like a celebrity elevator on the Eiffel Tower. And so he like, again, it's just me and French people. So he like comes up to the, comes up and walks past me. And I'm like, I knew who he was. So I'm like, hey, D-Russ, I'm a big fan. And he said, appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you, bro.
But then I get off. I'm like, all right, get off the Eiffel Tower and get away from the situation. And realize people don't call him D-Russ. They call him D-Lo.
D-Lo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do they call him D-Lo?
I don't know.
D'Angelo.
D'Angelo. Yes. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. D-Lo. Yeah. But there's no Russ. But the fact that you put his name, he knew what you were talking about.
Yeah. But I want to take a little bit of credit for his success since then.
What I don't understand is why didn't you say, it's a pleasure to meet you, D. Russ.
Yeah, no, I froze. That's why I can't be around celebrities. I can't use my etiquette to get me out of jams. You know, my politeness.
Oh man, this has been fun. I think I'm done.
Okay.